Well, my precious husband is a gentleman, or excuse me, was a gentleman that I had the privilege of being his wife for 38 years. And he was a very highly decorated soldier. He was a 3 Purple Heart, 2 Bronze Star, Silver Star from Vietnam. And that experience in Vietnam, I think it had an impact on his ability to focus like a normal person. He was wild and eccentric, and he loved his whiskey, and he loved his life, and he loved his fishing, but sometimes he was a difficult man to understand. He was bulletproof, and there wasn't anything that was going to take him down. He had no pain. He had an extremely high pain tolerance, and so he never complained. But he was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And in my situation with him, I couldn't persuade him to get any help. And it was January of 2011, and he had gotten pneumonia, and it was a real strange, hard time. And we ended up going to the VA and him going into the emergency room. And at that time, they did a CAT scan on him, and they saw a very small nodule in his lung. Sorry, you're stage 4. No lobectomy for you. You can do chemo, and potentially chemo will give you 2 more months, or you have 6 to 8 months to live. And it was a death sentence. What do you do? So we came home and talked about it, and they wanted Bill to quit drinking to do his chemo. And Bill loved his Crown Royal and his wine. He kept telling his oncologist, okay, I'll quit drinking. But his oncologist said, you know, we can't give you chemo. If you have alcohol in your system, it'll kill you. And so he ultimately decided that he was going to live his life the way he wanted to live his life, which was drinking his alcohol, smoking his cigarettes. And we came home, and I'm running my little business. I'm running my little bread store, and can't control Bill. We're not doing chemo, so we're going to be here. And life starts getting weaker and weaker. And the first call from hospice comes through in August. And we don't need hospice. We don't need nurses coming in. Well, I can take care of Bill, so you stay away. Bill, do you need hospice? No, I don't need hospice. So we kept everybody at bay. And we visited the primary care physician again, and she's saying, have you seen hospice? No, we don't need hospice yet. And we get home that next day, and hospice is on the phone, and Dr. Jamie Custer, who's just an amazing doctor, said, you need hospice. And I'm going to work, and I passed Brooke in the driveway. Oh, go ahead and come in, Brooke. Bill's in. And then the next visit comes. Oh, I'm too busy. I've got to get the store open, so I'm carrying my pastries out. And I meet Brooke at the door. And the third visit, I'm too busy. I've got to go. You go take care of things with Bill. And the fourth visit, she sits me down and she says, Cherrie, you've got to face this. Your husband is dying, and I need you to make some decisions.
It was time that she needed to be a part of this and be helping with some of the things that he needed. We were writing notes in our book a lot back and forth, and then it came to a point where she had to be there all the time. And even when she was there, a lot of times Bill would kick her out of the room. And then as I would walk out, then we would have our little conference, because he felt that I was there to talk to him and not for her to tell on him what he had been doing all week.
Brooke sat me down and helped me understand that we had a very short time, and that I had to face reality, and it was going to be painful, but we could do it together. It was a good time. It was a time that I had a chance to totally fall back in love with my husband, like it was when we first got married. You know, all the anger and disappointment, it just goes away. You don't remember the bad. You only remember the lovingness, the gentleness. And I could not have done it without a hospice. I mean, and the home hospice is priceless. To be able to be in your own home, sleep in your own bed, be able to crawl in bed with him and hold him. And that was the beauty of Brooke. She didn't sugarcoat it. She sat down with him and she said, "Bill, you're dying." And he would always say, "Brooke, lie to me. Tell me what I want to hear." And she'd just laugh, you know. "No, I've got to be honest with you." And she would come in and do his vitals and check his pills and make sure that he was doing things right. And he never did everything that she asked him to do, but he admitted that he was not playing the game totally right. She brought in the accordion and played Amazing Grace. And the dog is howling and I'm crying, and Bill, I know, was cognizant of it even though he couldn't say anything. And then she left, but before she left she told me, she said, "Cherrie, Bill may hang on until you get your son here." And my son's in Texas, he's in Houston, and he'd been up to say goodbye to his father and brought his new baby and wife, and it was okay. I was going to do this. It was okay. They don't need to make the trip. They're struggling financially, and it's a hard trip. And Brooke said, he may hang on 6, 7 more days waiting on his son. So I called my son. I said, "Son, I need you." He said, "I'll be right there, Mama." Took him 2 days. Saturday night at 8 o'clock, I'm screaming at him on the phone. Bill's got 104-degree temperature and he's passing, and I know he's passing. And, "Bill, he's in Monroe. You can do this." And they pull in the driveway. And they come in and we rush out to the car. It was snow on the ground, and we grab the baby, and Ben runs up and he holds his father. And it was okay. The fever goes down. The baby's playing with the watch, and Bill, you could tell Bill knew that his son was there. We're all celebrating that the family was here. The dynamics of the house had changed from straight death to the new baby and the son and the family being together. And I sipped a little Bill's Crown Royal too. And I remember going to bed and I just held him. And we get up the next morning and he's still with me. And he's breathing over there, and the family comes in, and a beautiful baby, and my son comes in and says, "Good morning, Dad." And we're at the end of the bed changing a poopy diaper. How exciting. This wonderful baby has had a bowel movement. And we look up and Bill's gone. And hospice was there from the very beginning all the way to the end.
We get time, and that's kind of our one present in the whole rotten deal, is a little bit of time. And we get to say goodbye, and we get to say I love you, and we get to make peace. And sometimes that's one of the most important things that happens with us.
And the loving support that I had was absolutely priceless. I could not have done it. I would not have done it. I felt like I was the luckiest woman on the planet to get to love my husband, and I had this resource that was ready-made. All I had to do was say, "This is an issue. Done. Do you want a bed down here, Bill?" "No, I want to lay in my water bed." No bed. Everything
It just feels so nice to come into somebody's home, and every once in a while I might get a call, but they feel like I'm just there for them. I'm part of something that's pretty special.
It was a time in my life that I would never, ever, ever predict or expect to have that much love. It was just bountiful. I never talk about my husband passing that I don't talk about hospice. And all these hospice nurses are angels. They move from these death scenarios and then move into a life of normality. And they always have a smile, and they always have a word of encouragement, and it's time for you to sit down and get serious, when it was time for me to sit down and get serious. And once I knew that, I understood, and I knew what my role was. Take care of my husband to the very end.